Mended with gold. Before the darkness, there was light. My life began in fire and was shaped by gentle hands. I am a bowl. Not just any bowl, but a ceramic tea bowl made for the most special ceremonies. My Creator painted me with the colors of the sky at dawn, a soft blue with hints of pink and white. My glaze was smooth like glass. I was perfectly round, perfectly balanced. I was, in a word, whole. For many years, I lived a life of quiet purpose. I sat on a special wooden shelf in my owner's house. He was a kind man who loved tradition. When he had important guests, he would take me down from the shelf. His hands were always warm and respectful. He would fill me with warm green tea. I could feel the heat spread through my body. My purpose was to hold this warmth, to be part of a moment of peace and connection between people. I was proud. I felt the simple, clean joy in my existence. I was beautiful, I was useful, and I was loved. In my world, there was nothing more important than being complete, without any flaws, without any cracks. A crack was failure. A break was the end. My entire identity was built on my perfect, unbroken form. I thought this life would last forever. I did not know that the most important part of my story had not yet begun. I did not know that my greatest beauty was waiting for me on the other side of devastation. The day it happened was a normal day. The sun was shining. The house was quiet. My owner was preparing for a guest. He reached for me just as he had done 1,000 times before. But that day, a noise from outside surprised him. A loud horn from a passing car. For just a fraction of a second, his attention was broken. His hand slipped. Time seemed to slow down. I remember the feeling of falling. The air rushed past me. I saw the wooden floor coming closer and closer. I was helpless. There was nothing I could do. And then there was the sound. It was not a loud crash. It was a sharp, terrible sound, like a heart breaking. It was the sound of my perfect form shattering into pieces. One moment I was a single whole object. The next I was a collection of broken fragments on the floor. The pain was not physical. It was a pain of the spirit. I was no longer a bowl. I was garbage. I was a failure. My purpose was gone. My beauty was gone. The smooth, perfect glaze was now a puzzle of sharp edges. The sky at dawn was now a map of destruction.
My owner knelt down. I could feel his sadness. He did not look angry, only deeply sad. He carefully, gently picked up my pieces, one by one, the large ones and the small ones. He did not throw me in the trash. Instead, he placed my broken body into a soft cloth and put me inside a wooden box, and then there was only darkness. Inside the box, I had a lot of time to think. This was the end. My life was over. I would spend eternity as a collection of useless broken pieces in a dark box. The memory of the sun, of the warm tea, of my owner's kind hands, it was all just a painful reminder of what I had lost. I was ashamed of my new form. I was a thing of shame, a broken promise. I wished I could just disappear, turn to dust. The hope I once felt was gone, replaced by a cold, heavy despair. I do not know how long I stayed in that box. Days, weeks, maybe months. But one day I felt movement. The box was being carried. I was afraid. Was this the moment I would finally be thrown away? The box opened, but I was not looking at a trash can. I was in a new place. It was a room filled with sunlight and the smell of wood and dust and something else, something strange and sweet like tree sap. I saw shelves with tools, brushes of all sizes, and small pots of mysterious liquids. This was an artisan's workshop. A man looked down at me. He was an old man, with deep lines on his face and hands that looked both strong and gentle. He was the artisan. My owner had brought me to him. But why? What could he do? I was broken beyond repair. The old man carefully took my pieces out of the cloth and laid them on his wooden workbench. He looked at them for a long time, not with sadness, but with a quiet, intense focus. It was as if he was not seeing broken pieces, but was reading a story. His work began. It was slow, it was patient, it was a meditation. First, he cleaned every single piece. He washed away the dust and the memory of my fall. Then, he took a special substance, a dark, thick lacquer made from the sap of a tree. With a very fine brush, he carefully applied this dark lacquer to the edges of my broken pieces. I was confused. I was scared. What was he doing? This dark paste was ugly. It did not hide my cracks. It made them more obvious. Then, with incredible patience, he began to put me back together. It was like a very difficult puzzle. He held two pieces together for a long time, waiting for the lacquer to hold. He worked for hours, which turned into days. Slowly, piece by piece, I began to take my old shape. I was a bowl again. But I was not the same. I was a bowl covered in ugly, dark lines. I could see where every break had happened. I was whole again, but my scars were visible to everyone. I felt like a prisoner in my own repaired body. The shame was still there, now highlighted by these dark, jagged lines. I thought, this is worse than being in pieces. Now everyone can see how I failed. The artisan let me rest for many weeks, allowing the lacquer to become hard and strong. I thought his work was finished. I thought this was my new, ugly reality. But I was wrong. The most important part of my transformation was about to begin. One morning, the artisan took me from the shelf. He sat down at his workbench, and the sunlight from the window fell upon me. He opened a small porcelain pot. Inside was something that shimmered. It was gold, pure liquid gold. He took another brush, one with the finest, softest hairs I had ever seen. He dipped it into the gold, and then, with a hand that was as steady as a mountain, he began to paint over the dark lines of lacquer. I felt the touch of the brush. It was not heavy or forceful.
It was a gentle, loving caress. He traced every single one of my scars with the precious, shining gold. He did not try to hide them. He did not try to pretend I was never broken. Instead, he illuminated my history. He honored my journey through darkness. The process took a long time. The artisan was focused. His breath was slow and steady. He was not just repairing an object. He was creating a new piece of art. He was telling my story in gold.
When he was finished, he held me up to the light. I saw my reflection for the first time in a long time. I could not believe what I was seeing. I was more beautiful than I had ever been. The cracks were still there, but they were not ugly anymore. They were rivers of gold that traveled across my blue and pink surface. They shone in the sunlight. They told a story of a fall, of darkness, and of a patient, loving repair. My brokenness was not a source of shame anymore. It was the source of my new, unique, and breathtaking beauty. In that moment, I understood. I was not beautiful despite being broken. I was beautiful because I was broken. I did not go back to the kitchen shelf. My owner placed me in the most important room of the house, on a stand, all by myself. Guests would come, and they would look at me. They would not see a simple tea bowl. They would see my story. They would touch the golden lines with a sense of wonder. I could hear them whisper the name of this art, Kintsugi, the art of golden repair. My purpose was no longer just to hold tea. My new purpose was to be a symbol of resilience, a symbol of hope. I learned that our scars, our imperfections, the things that we think make us weak or ugly, are actually the things that can make us the most beautiful. They are proof that we have lived, that we have faced challenges, and that we have healed. They are not the end of our story. They are the golden lines that make our story shine.